As a kid, I was obsessed with superheroes, just like all of you, and superhero TV shows were a big thing, like Fantastic Four, Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, but of course the one we all fondly remember, X-Men. Now, I never read any of the X-Men comics, but I loved that freaking show. So, when I got a Game Gear, of course, I had to get an X-Men game, and there were 3 on the Game Gear: X-Men, X-Men Games Master's Legacy, and Xmen Mojo World. So of course, years later, I'm recreating my Game Gear collection on the Master System. But there's only one port of any of those 3 games on the Master System, thanks to our good friends down in Brazil, Tectoy, and that was the 3rd game, Mojo World. Well, hey, you know what? I love Game Master's Legacy. I had to get a copy of this and see if it held up to my childhood memories. So let's check this one out. Now, something I loved about Game Master's Legacy was that you started out with Storm and Cyclops, and you could pick the levels you wanted to play, and each level had a different character that was trapped from that world's boss, and you could pick the order you wanted to play him and save that character, and then you could play as that character. For example, Bishop was trapped on Genosha. If you were a huge fan of Bishop, you could just go into Genosha and save him from that area. Or was Gambit in Genosha? I think Gambit was in Genosha. It's not important. You get what I'm saying, though. Like, I believe Wolverine was in the Danger Room. So you beat the Danger Room, you'd have Wolverine. Disclaimer, and this is coming into play in this game, Wolverine was the absolute worst character in Games Master's Legacy, and he's the absolute worst character in Mojo World as well. So Mojo World has sort of a similar setup. You start out with Rogue and Wolverine, and in each level you unlock another member of the X-Men. There's a grand total of 6 characters that you can play as: Wolverine, Rogue, Gambit, Cyclops, Havoc, and Shard. So right off the bat, I'm pissed off because I'm a hardcore Storm fanboy, and Storm's not in this game. So that sucks for me, but it's okay, because you do have a lot of great characters. Or so you would think. Turns out one of your starting characters, Rogue, is all you need to beat this game. In fact, for this video, I played through the game twice. Once solely with Rogue, and then another time with all the other characters just to show them off. And my Rogue playthrough was honestly almost too easy, because in this game you have your hand-to-hand attack and you have your mutant powers. Rogue's mutant power just has her super strength, so she's still just punching things, but most guys in this game take about 8 hits to kill. If you activate Rogue's mutant powers, they take 4. It might seem like it's a bit much, especially when other characters have projectiles and such, but honestly, you can just play it as like a 2D beat-em-up at this point. Combine that with Rogue's ability to fly, and the game, again, is too easy. Played through it in about 17 minutes with Rogue. There's no reason to have any other characters. It's like Wolverine on the NES. It should just be Rogue. Let's talk about Wolverine. He has 2 mutant abilities, of course, his claws and the ability to heal. Now, you have a certain amount of time you can use your mutant abilities, and there's icons you can pick up to replenish that, much like icons you can use to replenish your health. There's the problem with Wolverine. His mutant powers are constantly draining because he's constantly healing himself. Even if you have 100% health, your mutant power will deplete. You're not gaining extra health, you're just losing your mutant powers. So he's completely worthless and total garbage, and it was the same way in the previous game on the Game Gear. I'm guessing the first game also had it the same way. And of course you have other characters that aren't too bad. Like Cyclops is able to actually aim in like 8 directions, and that's kind of cool. It can come into play really well in later levels if you want to hit guys who are kind of off in separate areas of the screen that you can't get to, but again, you might as well just play as Rogue and run up to them and bum rush them. Havoc, Shard, and Gambit are all kind of meh. They all basically play the same. And that's the biggest problem with this game. Everyone really plays the same, except really, you get a little bit of difference with Rogue, with her ability to fly and to punch the crap out of things better than anybody. And Cyclops is a little bit different, but that's about it. Also, the music in this game is the worst music on the Master System. You know I love this system. I want to praise everything on it, but I really can't. It's noise. I'm OCD. I gotta have that TV on. I might have music in the background as well, but I gotta have the TV on and hear the sound effects and a bit of the music. This is one of the few games where I just mute the TV, crank up my stereo, and just listen to some old school goth rock or something while I'm playing this game, because anything in the world is better than what is in the game itself. So you've got a really short game. You've got a bunch of characters, but only one that's worth playing as. And you've got one of the worst soundtracks ever. So the question is, would I recommend this game? Well, that depends. If you're a fan of 8-bit games and you want a good 8-bit X-Men game on a console, your options are the Xmen Mojo world to the Master System, Wolverine on the NES, or X-Men on the NES. And I'll give the game credit. It's the best 8-bit console-based X-Men game there is. But that's about as much of a brag as saying that I'm the best YouTuber from Sheboygan. Nah? So, Xmen Mojo World, play it if you want, but you might as well skip it. If you are going to play it, I recommend just using a Master System or a Game Gear emulator, because this game, like so many of the Tectoy releases, is ridiculously expensive. I got a loose cart version for like $30. Most of the time this pops up on eBay. It is not loose, and case only, I think the cheapest I ever saw was $130. It's going for well over $200. And if you want it complete with that manual, that's probably entirely in Portuguese anyway, you're going to shell out quite a bit more than that. And believe me, the $30 I paid for it wasn't even worth that. All it really made me do is wish I could still play Games Master's Legacy, which, thanks to my little emulator, the Odroid, I can. And that was a far superior game. So, Xmen Mojo World is definitely a skip this piece of crap, unless you're a hardcore Rogue fan. In which case, you might want to play it because there's no other decent character to play the game as.